again, welcome back to continue with our React exploration and working with the weather API. So far, we've got our weather app working pretty good. You can enter a zip code, 94115. Is that what? That's a zip. I'm just guessing at zip codes, right? So yeah, that's working pretty good. We're displaying weather. We have a problem though if we supply an invalid zip code, right? So that's not a valid zip code. I get an error. Let's tackle that right now, okay? One of the topics for this set of lessons is conditional rendering, and that's going to be part of the solution for this one, okay? So to understand what's happening here, we need to look at what OpenWeatherMap returns to us when we give it a bad zip code, right? So if I look here, you can see that it gives me an object where it says COD and message. If we give it a valid zip code, like this one, it still gives us COD, but the value is 200. And a subtle thing here is this 200 is a number, right? But when it gives us a 404, it gives us a string, okay? That actually kind of matters a little bit to how we write the code, but essentially what we use, we just need to look at the value. If the value is 200, we got the weather data. If the value is 404 or any other value besides 200, then there was a problem, okay? Message right here kind of tells us what the problem was, right? And just as a side note, the problem here is not happening with fetch. So we're making a totally valid, totally successful API call with fetch. So we didn't have an error here. We're getting an error in the response. So the response is including some information to tell us that something went wrong, right? The connection was great. It's just like how we use their service was not correct, okay? So another thing to notice, so we get COD if we get a valid response, and we get COD when we get an invalid response, okay? Message, though, only appears if the response is not 200. So if we look through here, you won't see a message property, okay, because this one was fine, so we didn't get a message, okay? So how are we going to handle this, right? I'm going to comment that out for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the COD property equal to json.cod, and I'm going to grab the message property. So I'm in my weather.js, right? I'm in that fetch weather function, okay? So I'm going to say json.message, okay? And then I'm going to include these two properties down here in my data object. So I'll put COD at the top, and message will come next, right? So message will be there. Don't forget the comma. And now what I'd like to do is I'd like to leave everything here alone because it'll get kind of sticky if we try to do anything here. And this is looking pretty busy, but fairly organized right now. I don't want to make this code more complicated than it needs to be. So what we'll do is we'll handle the COD value and the message inside the weather display. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the weather display, and I'm going to deconstruct COD and message here like this, and we can use some conditional rendering here, right? So if our COD is not 200, we can display the message, and if it is 200, then we can do this block of code here, okay? So let's give that a try. And there's a couple ways we can do this, right? Since we're inside a function here, outside of the return statement, because, you know, essentially this is a little different than the other one. The other one, I want to display all of the information down here, but sometimes I display the stuff at the top. So I have something that's always there and something that is sometimes displayed, okay? In this case, I want to either display all of this stuff or something in place of it, right? So what I'm going to do is inside of the function at the top here, I'm going to put an if statement, right? And at the top here, we can say like, hey, if COD does not equal I'm going to just do, actually I'm using a font here that, you know, it kind of does these ligatures. So when I do that, it kind of looks like this, right? But really what I have is the exclamation point and the equal sign, right? So this means not equal to, right? So I just did that. And I'm going to say when COD does not equal 200. Okay, so if COD does not equal 200, I'm actually going to do two equal signs there. So it's going to be exclamation point equal equal, right? But no spaces, right? So my font makes that look a little weird, okay? So if the COD does not equal 200, if it's anything else, what we're going to do is we're going to return, okay? And we're going to print something else besides what we have here, okay? So if we return here, then we never get to the bottom of our function, right? So none of this will happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to return a small tag, right? So we'll just have a little tiny message that will have the message in it, okay? So I'll put the message here. So we'll display this message variable, okay? So let's give it a try now and see what happens. So again, like we have an if statement here. If this is true, if that evaluates to true, we will render this and not render what happens down here, okay? If this is false, we skip over it and we only render what comes at the bottom, okay? So I'm going to save that and I'll try and do this here. Oops, wait, I still have a problem there. Let me refresh it and see what happens here. Oh, I still have a problem here. Oh yeah, you know what? I forgot. We got to do one more thing, okay? Over here in the weather data, back in weather.js, I forgot. We actually don't have access to these other properties here. Okay, so if we get the COD in the message, like, and COD is not 200, then we actually don't get these values, and that's why we're getting the error here. So I'm going to move the COD and message above these other properties. Okay, and if we get to here, I'm going to check it again the same way I did in the other one. I'm going to say, hey, if COD does not equal 200, then what I want to do is set data, and we'll set the data to the COD and the message. And then I need to end my function early, so we'll call return, okay? And then if this is not true, if COD is something other than, or if the COD is 200, then we'll skip over this if statement and we'll do all the code here, okay? Let's give it a try. So let's refresh this and then try it. Oh, nothing to geocode. Let's try another zip code, 333, city not found. Nice. Let's try an existing zip code. Let's do 0110, and we'll do it in metric. 21 degrees Fahrenheit, clear skies. Nice. Okay, so that's looking pretty good so far. So my challenge to you now is to style the information here in your weather display component, and then add a special style for the error message, right? So give that a style. It might be nice if this was in red or something, just to kind of grab our attention. Maybe a little bit of margin around it might be good too. Up to you. So make a style sheet here, and then now you can style these elements that you have here, right? Maybe add some class names, like especially this error message probably deserves a class name, right? Okay. What else could we do here? You know, I don't know. Anyway, that's pretty good. I'll leave it up to you to decide there. But this challenge that I'm going to leave you with is styling this component here and styling the data that you got. Okay. And again, as always, thanks for watching.